One of the best things on TV is Impractical Jokers, a hidden camera show featuring 4 lifelong friends who challenge each other to engage in embarrassing situations. Because of the revealing nature of the show, there are very few parts of the Jokers' private lives that aren't on public display. But here are a few things you may not have known about America's funniest friends. Comic Book Man. AMC's Comic Book Man almost featured another member, but Brian Q. Quinn was stuck in True TV's contractual grip and couldn't join his good friends on Kevin Smith's nerdy version of Pawn Stars. Q, a lifelong fan of comics, appears regularly on a podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave with Comic Book Men's Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson. Q's first girlfriend. Astute viewers will note that Q has mentioned that his first girlfriend spent some time in prison and that she's the half-sister of an A-list celebrity.
I know who it is, and I know where she is!
Hey! Prison!
She's in prison!
She is alive and breathing!
Out of respect for the delicate family situation, Q's never mentioned her by name on the air. However, dedicated Redditors have used information from the show and Q's podcast to limit the possibilities to a very specific area at a very specific time, and deduced that Q dated King of Queens star Leah Remini's half-sister Elizabeth, who was arrested in 2005 for felonious cocaine trafficking. But you didn't hear it from us. Brian's swollen brain. There were a few Jokers episodes where it was very clear that Q was suffering from an illness, and at least one challenge that Q was allowed to skip because of health concerns. Viewers didn't know that Q's problems were far worse than the flu, and after a battery of invasive tests administered by 4 doctors, a regimen of serious antibiotics, and a misdiagnosis of Lyme disease, Q found out that he was actually suffering from serious encephalitis and meningitis. The difference between pre- and post-illness Q was about 15 pounds, and Joker's filming was put off for about a week.
One last ride, then it's night-night forever. See you soon, Ma!
Full Cup. Between 2010 and 2014, Joker Sal Vulcano was part of Full Cup, a beloved music venue and bar in his native Staten Island. Unfortunately, the location ran into financial trouble in 2014 and rebranded itself as Hashtag Bar in early 2016. Sal mentioned the bar in his 2013 Reddit AMA, but once the bar started to crash and burn in 2014, he made a public statement saying he hadn't been involved in operations for more than a year. He ditched the struggling business, taking his finance degree with him, and completely embraced his new life of TV torture. Sal's tats. One of the most memorable punishments in Joker's history involved 3 of the cast members getting tattoos determined by Vulcano, who was the only winner of that week's challenge. While Q and Murr's tattoos were meaningful to their lives in a sarcastic way, Sal's tattoo was a huge picture of Jaden Smith on his thigh. Viewers will also notice that Sal already had quite a few tattoos at this point, including tribal bands around his calves. His arm tattoo, however, has a pretty deep meaning to him. It's song lyrics dedicated to a friend that he lost in 2011. Kind of makes that Jaden tattoo look especially cruel. Slap attack. Even though most of the pranks on Jokers are designed only to embarrass the 4 stars, there have been plenty of times where they've almost come to blows with the unsuspecting public, and twice when they did. Anyone who watches the show knows that all 4 friends are really polite, respectful guys, but Sal was once slapped when he was forced to tell a woman that her baby was ugly, and also choked by a man that he'd cut in line as part of a challenge. Apologies were quickly dispensed, and neither segment aired. Crydiving. Murr's most notable punishment, and the inspiration for his tattoo, was being forced to skydive despite a serious fear of heights. On air, we see Murr run and threaten to quit the show. But what we don't see is the hour he spent locked in a bathroom, refusing to come out while he sent farewell texts to his friends and family, sure that he would not survive the experience. Both Murr and Sal share a fear of heights, which they'd face again during their later charitable tightrope walk. MurrTV. In their tour documentary, the Jokers credit James Murray as being the unstoppable force behind getting Impractical Jokers on the air. Despite being a reality TV star, Murr still maintains his day job as the Senior VP of Development of North-South Productions, which explains why he's the only Joker too busy to have his own podcast, even though he could host one in any of the 17 languages he claims to be able to speak. That is, when he's not shot full of Novocaine.
Braised beef is brilliant. Braised beef is... Raised beef is brilliant. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I've said it once, I'll say it again.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more videos like the one you just saw, and leave us a comment to let us know which Joker's moment is your favorite.